Hello there. This is Genty Grace. I am the founder of Publish Your Purpose, and I am sitting here today with Brian, and we are celebrating the launch of your new book. We both have a visual, Corporate Campfire Stories, a practical career guide for aspiring leaders. Brian, first, before we get into a whole bunch of questions, how are you feeling just kind of like in this moment? Because it is indeed launch day at the time of this recording.
It is. It's a phenomenal feeling. I mean, I'm just super excited. I've run into people that I haven't seen in a long time. They're very supportive. They're very positive, and I can't wait to get this book out in the hands of a whole bunch of people and get a reaction.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I feel like it's such a needed tool and resource for people. So why don't we just dive into the meat of it and share just a little bit about your background and then like a little bit about the book, and then we can kind of go from there.
Great. So, from a work standpoint, I spent probably about 45 years in finance and insurance with a focus on retirement planning, but not for individuals over the kitchen table. It's retirement plans for institutions. So, I've had clients ranging from small corporations you never would have heard of to jumbo corporations that are some of the largest in the world, not for profits, hospitals, educational institutions, cities, states, and counties. At one time, I had 26 U.S. states as clients. And they all have this thing in common that their people need to retire. And so we built plans for them. I've had a breadth of experience with regard to running different businesses, anywhere from building a brand new business to managing it once it's up and running, to fixing it when it breaks, or taking it over and fixing it, or winding it down when it's no longer relevant. And a lot of that background has found its way into the book. Personally, I am this week a widower of 5 years. I was married for almost 38 years. And that's had a big impact on my life and why I wanted to put the book out there. I have two adult kids, both adopted from Chile. I have two little grandbabies, and that's a lot of fun. And I am 2 years ago retired.
So exciting on all of these things. So I'm curious, like actually just ending on the retirement front. And I know that, part of it, being a widower, clearly there's some sentimental reasons for writing this book. And also you're doing it now that you're in retirement. So like, what is that, like, what does that look like in terms of like what your vision is for this book?
Well, it really led to the book in some way, and my sense of purpose. I know your company's name is Publish Your Purpose. You've got purpose front and center, and it became apparent to me how important purpose is. First, several years ago, when I was at a company where we interviewed a bunch of retirees and asked them if they were happy or not in retirement. And for the ones who were happiest, we said, well, what's the number one requirement to be happy in retirement? And we expected it would be, well, we want to have, adequate finances. And that's certainly a minimum requirement for anybody.
Hmm.
But the number one reason that came back was you have to have a sense of purpose. And
Hmm.
even when I talk with friends now that are contemplating retirement, you can tell whether they're ready or not, because whether they've got that sense of purpose lined up or not.
Hmm.
And so when my wife passed, I decided that life was fragile. I wanted to get out and enjoy it and live a fulfilled life. And so that led to my decision to retire. And when I got out there, I'm a list maker. I had a list of 57 items in 5 categories. It's very important to understand it's not a bucket list. It was a list of things I wanted to do. And my plan was to take one or two items from each category, whether it was, family, spending time with family, travel, community, and knock the cover off the ball and just get everything I could out of it. And pursued that path. And as I did, I had a couple of surprises. So the things that I expected would be exciting were exciting. It was great to travel to New Zealand and spend 3 weeks there driving around and seeing the mountains and beautiful place. But there were some unexpected developments too. So, for example, I used to play a lot of chess when I was younger. So I thought I'd go back and play chess. And I went and I played in a chess tournament, and spent 3-4 hours at a game, and did pretty well. But at the end of it, I was bored out of my mind. Um,
Mm.
Now, this afternoon, after this interview, I'm going to teach chess at the Academy for Lifelong Learning. It's an organization on Cape Cod aimed at older individuals, 50 and up, although our average student's probably age 75, and my oldest student in chess class is 87.
That's awesome.
And when they learn something new and figure it out and their eyes light up, that's exciting to me. And so if I look at what my purpose is in retirement now, it is to live a fulfilled life, but it's to live a fulfilled life in connection with others. And that's that combination that comes together. So that's my sense of purpose. And that's kind of what leads me to all the decisions I'm making about what I want to do, including writing this book.
Oh, I love that so much. There's so much that you just said in regards to purpose and I think the importance of having a purpose, especially post, retirement, where I feel like, I feel like there's that kind of decision tree where people decline or they thrive because they actually have something to live for and be motivated for and all of those things. So I love that you have like your 5 buckets. That's awesome. It's a good system.
It's
I
fun.
also love a list.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your book. So, I was saying before, obviously, it's PYP, so I'm biased of the cover, but I feel like your cover is absolutely gorgeous. And I know that it took a little bit of time to kind of land on the right title from what the working title was to kind of landing on this final title. So can you just kind of share? I feel like it feels relatively self-explanatory based on your subtitle of A Practical Career Guide for Aspiring Leaders, but can you share a little bit more about like what the book is about and who the book is for?
I can, and I'd like to give you a little sense of where it came from as well, and then how it ended up geared at this group. So when I retired, a terrific gift that I got from a couple of colleagues was something called Storyworth, which is this program where they send you a question every week or two, and you write down the answer, and at the end of the year, you look at all your answers and you see if you can put them together and maybe put them into a volume. Some of the questions are personal, like what was your favorite food when you were growing up, or what are your memories of your grandparents, or where did you live, or what did you like in school? And some are work related. So what were your least and most favorite things about work, and what were some of the challenges that you ran into? Well, I answered these questions, and when I looked at it, I had 3 times the level of volume I had of words in order to produce the final work product, and didn't look like that was going to work. And at the same time, I'd been having conversations with people that I used to work with, and realized that a lot of the stories in the book, whether they were personal or whether they were work related, had to do with questions I've been asked from people or coaching sessions I'd had with folks over time. And I extracted those elements from the book and put it together with this sense of purpose. You want to help others. And that gave a foundation for which stories to include and which ones not. That they had to be stories around something that would help people out, and questions people ask at work. So the target audience, I would say, is, although it's probably applicable to anybody at any level, I would say it's aspiring leaders. So people are working their way up through an organization, probably ages 30 to 45 or so. Though I've got great responses from people that are already retired and college students as well. So we've got, at both ends of the spectrum. And it's all story based. I mean, you see that right in the title, Corporate Campfire Stories. But one of the things I found out is that when you sit with people, they really remember stories. They don't, facts and figures, it's hard to remember, but stories you do. And so I spent a lot of time trying to come up with the right stories and then distilling them down to things that would work for people. So that's what it is. So we have the categories of, communications, relationships. There's a little bit in there on things like innovation and negotiating. There's facing adversity or challenges. So it's kind of all the things that in the course of a career, people are interested in. And it's to come up with a cover and the title, I put a little focus group together. Mostly, I would say a lot of my son's friends. They're mid-30s, but also some other folks that I've run into over time in that age group, and they were great. I mean, just the feedback on, I like this one, but it wasn't just a yes no vote. It was I like this one because it resonates.
Mm,
Picture on the cover, the first stab we took at the picture was too dystopian, and the fire was too big, and it looked like it was burning down the city. No, this is supposed to be warm and embracing, and almost a family type of an atmosphere, and that really helped. And I think that's why the title worked out great, the cover worked out great,
mhm,
and I think the content. Um, I'll just go here for a moment, but when I first put this together, it was almost like a memoir.
mhm,
It was more of a history of things that had happened to me, and I had a great conversation with my successor at work, and
mm,
she recommended to me that you direct it to help the people that are going to be reading it, so it's less about you and more about them.
mm.
And even though they're my stories,
Yeah.
it made it more about the people who are reading it, and that completely changed the character of it, and then also connected back to the purpose. So
Mhm.
that really pulled it together in one place.
Yeah, yeah, and I love, like I said, I love the cover. I also love the inside elements because I pulled open to just one of the kind of the summaries at the end of the book where there's acorns that are kind of scattered throughout as visual elements. There's a lantern. There's like a knot that's tied like rope, and so it's not just so it's like a cohesive experience where you're like, okay, we're talking about campfire stories, and so those little subtle things really just kind of help you get in the moment of what the intendedness is behind this book and what the stories are.
I wanted the stories not just to be relevant, but I wanted them to be practical.
Mhm.
These are real world problems people run into and immediately implementable. So you don't
Yeah.
have to read the entire book to get something out of it and start to go ahead. And if you've got a particular category or something you're interested in, like you've just gone through a layoff, or you're dealing with imposter syndrome, or you've got a tough conversation with your boss at work, you can find the chapter, you can go right to the summary, or you can read the whole story, and then you remember it because it's a story, and then you can put it into practice next week. In fact, I've got a companion workbook in digital form that will also be available. It's got exercises so that you can practice some of the things that are in the book. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and it's written in an accessible way from just how it's worded, but then what you're describing makes it really accessible. So if someone, picks the book up and they're like, "Oh, it's a little bit too much for me to read at 250 pages," they can go directly to the chapter that addresses the thing that they have going on. And not all books lend themselves or not all books were designed in that way. So I love that it really does become kind of a reference guide that somebody, an aspiring leader can have on their bookshelf. And then when inevitably the thing comes rolling around, they can just grab that chapter and kind of, problem solve in real time.
Exactly.
So good. I love when someone has an idea and then it is executed exactly to how the idea was and how they wanted it because it doesn't somewhere along the line in the process sometimes things happen where what the original intention was versus the outcome aren't exactly what it was intended to look like. Sometimes it's for better, sometimes it's not. So it's great that everything kind of aligns very well with your book.
This may seem like a strange analogy, but Edgar Allan Poe wrote a book on how to tell a short story years ago. He's one of the first to write shorter stories, and he said every word, every sound, every image has to support what you're trying to do. So if you look at the beginning of The Fall of House of Usher, it's during the whole of a dull, dark, and somber day in the autumn of the year. He's got a lot of D's and M's, these kind of thudding sounds that sound ominous, and of course that's the image he was trying to portray. But I think here, an acorn is a little acorn of an idea, so people can think about it. A rope, it ties everything together. A lantern's a moment of insight. So it's I think it helps
Mhm.
for direct people through. It's kind of a little roadmap, so that you can find your way to what you need to have in order to make a decision.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And so when you were thinking about whether it's the writing or the publishing or both, is there anything that came up that was like unexpected from whether kind of I feel like more on like the emotional side of things because I feel like sometimes when we're writing books that aren't necessarily inherently emotional, there's still all of the things that come rolling in because we're human and writing and publishing definitely test I think every ounce of our being.
Well, I would say first, I didn't realize how much work there is to putting a book together. I mean, you run a business that does it. I think you know by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you've got to come up with the idea. You've got to come up with a rough draft. You've got to clean up your rough drafts several times. That's even before you submit it to anybody. You've got to go through a developmental edit and a copy edit and proofreading. You've got to run it by a couple of people and get a reaction. Sometimes it's not easy to get those reactions from people or to hear those. That can be daunting when somebody gives you a piece of feedback that's valuable, but uh, changes the direction that you had in mind a little bit. But if you step back from it, listen to it, absorb it, and incorporate uh, it can make things better. So that was one of the elements. I think I will give you some credit, a plug. I did read, the Publish Your Purpose book.
Mhm.
And you gave a piece of advice that's parallels some advice that I give in the book, which is to kind of set expectations. That there are moments in any process where there's a down moment, and what you said is you gotta you gotta bull your way through it. You're gonna find a way to get through it and come out the other side. And so, for example, in the chapter that has a little section on layoffs, I say to somebody if they've been laid off, what are some things you should do? Well, just remind yourself of why you're there, why you got hired in the first place, how good you are, and go out and talk with a couple people who are your fans. Listen to what they say. Call your mom if she's still around,
Mhm.
and if she likes you, and ask her to say some good things about you, and then listen to them and believe them. And between your encouragement that yeah, everybody gets through this, they have their down moments, and you will get through it and come out the other side, as well as talking with people who said, there's really good stuff in here, Brian. You need to get it out. You need to tell people. I can't wait for it. Those
Mhm.
two things kept me going at those moments where, I was a little bit down. I was like, I'm not sure I want to keep doing this for the 12th time. So,
Did you it's always interesting, like, when you actually practice what you preach, because I feel like it's so easy to say something to others and then actually apply it to yourself. Did you find that you had, like, a certain support system that you were kind of routinely going back to when you were having those moments of, like, "I really need to pick me up here?"
I did. And it's a wide ranging support system. So, I mean, different kinds of support for different days, but I was really impressed by how involved and I call them kids. I know they're not. They're young professionals. They're 30 to 45 years old, but just the level of enthusiasm there was inspiring. But also mentors that I've had in the past. So they've been around the block, and they've got good comments. That the willingness to put a testimonial together at the drop of a hat, that was tremendous. And that was wide ranging too. I've got people there that are 30 years old, and I've got people there that are almost 70,
Mhm.
and the wide variety. The forward. The forward to the book from my successor Jamala, just incredible. And
Mm.
I just about broke down in tears reading it because it was so positive and brought back so many memories. So it was there were some emotional moments that were negative. There were some emotional moments that were positive,
Mhm.
and having those people to reach out to was tremendous support.
Yeah, yeah, thinking about, like, testimonials, like, what was it like kind of going like, deciding who you wanted to reach out to and then, like, the actual ask, like, how did that process go?
Yeah. Well, I'm a list maker, so I made a list of maybe, I don't know, 60 or 70 potential people to go back to, and sorted it to make sure that I had a variety of perspectives so that it wasn't all the same voice. I had people of different ages, backgrounds, different industries, got a college professor in there. And I think that was actually exciting to think about. Well, who would be a good fit? And then, yeah, you've got to go ask. You ask nice. I mean, there's a piece of advice in the book that if you want something, ask nice. And so I put that into practice as well. And that's one of those moments where there wasn't even the slightest bit of hesitation from anybody I talked with, other than, I'm really busy right now. I can't get back to you until 2 weeks go by. I can't do it tomorrow. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, that'd be fantastic
Mhm.
because your voice would be. I mean, um, one of the things I did besides being nice was reminding people that their voice matters. The
Mhm.
reason I wanted the testimonial is because it would be a meaningful testimonial. When somebody reads it, they're going to say, "Yeah, that's a really good person to hear from, that
Mhm.
this is a good book to read." So
Yeah.
that made it a lot easier. I mean, one of the pieces of advice you gave is, continually think about when you're writing a book. Um, the purpose of getting it out there is it's going to help somebody.
Mhm.
Well, the purpose of a testimonial is to help somebody find a book that's right for them. Um,
Mhm.
and if this isn't the right book for somebody, then I don't want them reading it. I want it for the people that it's going to be useful to, but I think there are a lot of them.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like there's such a universal nature to your book and your content, which I think is fantastic because it becomes a real resource for people who are just kind of struggling at different phases of things. And because it's, campfire stories, it just feels more accessible just based on the name alone versus like some of these leadership books that are just very like in your face and like you have to do it this particular way in this formulaic way to kind of accomplish the goal. Whereas like you have such a different approach that just feels so aligned and it will align with some people and it won't with others. And that's the beauty, right? Like that's the whole thing about marketing anything is that you want to find the people that you want to find and you want to like repel the people that should be repelled.
And just as an experiment, I'm actually teaching a class right now, out of the book to this group of older adults, but
Mhm.
with the purpose of getting their stories, and beefing things up. And I expect that I'll go out and do some platform presentations and workshops on sections of the book that are most relevant to the different companies, depending on what they want for their employees. But part of that process is not just to relate the material in the book or even go through exercises in the companion workbook, but to get the stories of the people, because telling a story sometimes is as important as hearing one.
Mhm.
If you can relate it, then you're going to remember it more. And there's a very old saying. I referenced this in the book as well, and I can't remember. I first heard of it as an old Japanese saying, but it's been attributed to like Seneca the Younger, a couple
Mhm.
thousand years ago, which is to teach is to learn.
Mhm.
And if you can explain something to somebody else, then you finally understand it yourself. And so if you can pair what's in the book with your own stories that are relevant, and a lot of the people reading it will have some life experience that's relevant already. If you're 19 years old and you're reading it, maybe not, but if you're in your 30s, you probably already have a few.
Mhm.
Then it makes it even more memorable.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Normally in these conversations, I'll say, like, what's something unexpected that's happened since launch? However, today is the launch. So I love when that is the case. So let's just project to the future. What is something that you are hopeful will happen? Or maybe, if you were to fast forward 6 or 12 months or even 2 days, and someone comes up to you and they say that they read the book and it impacted them, what are you hoping that conversation might look like?
Well, I've already had a couple of nibbles about potentially coming out and speaking, which is
Mhm.
terrific. When I first put this together, I was thinking, what would constitute success? And of course, you've got financial measures. I would or numerical measures. I mean, I would love to sell 1,000 copies of the book, but I think whether it's 10 copies or whether it's 10,000, I think the thing that is really important would be I would love to have two or three people come up to me and say, "I read the book. It changed my life.
Mhm.
It changed my career. It reinvigorated how I feel about work, or it helped me solve a problem, but that it was useful,
Mhm.
and it made a difference." And beyond that, I don't really care how many books we sell.
Mhm.
It is there is a portion of the proceeds go to not-for-profits who will be involved with helping young people grow and thrive and learn. So that's exciting too.
Mhm.
And
Very.
I love that connection to it. But the real big impact would be if it's meaningful to the people who read it.
Mhm. I love that so much, and I know that when we originally first started talking, that was, kind of what you expressed is the goal, and I think about the authors that we work with and the people that we support, and it's always when someone's kind of anchored in their purpose in the way that you are, I think just makes this process so much better because there's so many things that can be done. And there's just such a greater purpose at play that it's not about how many books are sold. Yes, that's great, but it's not the primary motivator or the factor to it. So I love that. I love all that. And the fact that you have your nonprofit tie into it as well. I think that is always a good thing. I always recommend it. Doesn't mean it always happens, but when it does, I think it can be really meaningful and powerful. So I'm very excited. Is there anything else that you would like to say before I kind of have you share how people can find you?
Uh, I really do appreciate the support I got from Publish Your Purpose. I think the copy editor, the developmental editor, the proofreader, the book design, the project manager, the discussions with you about marketing and where we're going, all been fantastic. And it not only gives insight into the world of publishing, which should be easier if there's a next time around, but extremely supportive. And it wasn't do this, do this, do this. It was think through this, think through this, think through this, and that got me involved. And I think I looked at traditional publishing for a while, and you've still got to do most of the work yourself, and then you don't have the choice. And at least here, not only did I get to see how the food was being prepared in the kitchen, but but I got to choose what the ingredients were and how it was presented. So it's been a really enjoyable process. Thank you for what you and your team have done, and I'm thrilled with the outcome. I just to look at it. I mean, the one of the great comments I got was I had a picture of me kind of opening up the book and showing it to people on the screen, and my son sent me a note back. He says, I replayed that video like 10 times, Dad, just for the smile on your face.
Mm.
And that's the kind of reaction that is really positive.
Yeah.
And I've gotten that from a host of people now.
Mhm. Yeah, it just means all of the effort and everything it took to get here. It's those little things that are the payoff. Mhm. Yeah, I love
Little
that.
things are the big things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because there'll be plenty of both. So it's exciting across the board.
it
What
is.
is the in terms of getting the book, you can purchase the book wherever you like to purchase books. I like to support or encourage supporting local independent bookstores, so that is always a good path. Also, bookshop.org supports independent bookstores, so you can get it there. And then obviously places like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, etc. Where might be the best place for people to get in contact with you after they have read the book, or if they're interested in engaging with you?
For me, probably the easiest way to do it is on LinkedIn. That's the only social media platform really that I'm spending any time on. And this is aimed at people who work primarily. So LinkedIn's a natural platform for that. So you can easily reach me there. A ton of people that I know that will buy the book have personal contact information already as well. So if you have that already, feel free to reach out to me directly. But it's yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to start to get some reactions.
Yeah, it's just beginning. It's launch day. It's just now, and it's like your future birthday, March 25th. Thank you,
Wonderful.
Brian. It's been so great working with you. I really appreciate it, and I'm so grateful that it is out in the world now.
Thank you, Jen. I've really enjoyed it, and can't wait to see some smiles on people's faces. So
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian.